Welcome to the MLM Solution Podcast Show, where you'll learn the facts and hear the truth about the network marketing industry. Here's your host, Rob Couty.
Hello, Miss Marie. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Rob. I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. Running around with my head cut off today. Anytime I take the dogs for a walk in the morning, I do not have time to shave, do not have time to do my hair, lost my glasses. I had to rush around, and when I get done, I got to do the dishes and straighten up, and then I got to go over and work on a deck. So full day ahead of me.
All right. Well, I'm assuming you have a spare pair of glasses on. Otherwise, I found your glasses.
Yes, I do have a spare. These are my glasses that I use to read with. In other words, I have glasses downstairs, upstairs, on every floor. Let's just say that way. And I was running around trying to find a pair, and guess what? I found these. And you know what? They're going to have to work for this episode. That's all there is to it. So with that being said, today's a beautiful day. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day like Marie and I. We talk about the weather, and the weather here is almost not winter. It's very fall-like. It was in the low 50s, 53, 54, something like that this morning. And I took the dogs out for a walk, and it was definitely getting my attention.
That's called brisk.
It was that. That's for sure. The dogs called it fun. And as I was telling Marie before we came on, I rush around with my head cut off because I start walking. You know, I have 5 of them, and I take the 2 boys first, and then I take the girls. And when I do that, I end up walking almost 4 miles. And that sounds like a lot. But if you saw our neighborhood, we go through our regular routine. I change it up every once in a while. But anyway, the point is, by the time I get both of them walked and give them fair time, if you will, it ends up being 4 miles. How do I know that? Because I take my Google Fit with me every time I go out. My phone, it has Google Fit on it. So anyway, by the time I get home, I don't have time to do much else. I had to feed them when I got home. And that's a 40-something minute fiasco, as you can imagine. Anyway, there's my morning. And the next thing you know, I had to come and make sure that everything was set up for our broadcast. So it's been a busy morning. How about your morning?
I can't say it was that busy. I was going to say, at least walking the dogs, you get some good exercise built into it. You don't have to have a gym membership. You get some good aerobic exercise, get some quality time with the furry family members. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. I enjoy it, and I'm not complaining. It just puts me behind. That's all. That's the biggest complaint I have. But additionally, at the same time, I have workout equipment downstairs, and it allows me. I go to the gym during the winter when I can't get out and about, and I use their treadmills. I refuse to get a treadmill, and but I use them because the only time I use them is during the winter. You know,
well, it's a good thing to have. We actually have a treadmill in our basement, and it gets used pretty much daily. I know for some people it turns into a clothes hanger, but we've been pretty good about it.
That's good. I like that. I did not know that. Yeah, no. I have nothing against them. I use them. I like them. It's just that I don't want to put one downstairs because, as I said, when the weather's good, I'm out and about. We have a park next to us, and it is packed all the time, and it has a 2-mile track. And believe it or not, I'll go out and walk or run that probably 2-3 times a week. And then I add the dogs walk. We get out pretty much almost 7 days a week. So there again, that's the reason why I don't yet, because I enjoy being out. I enjoy going to the park and walking the dogs around here. If I'm crunched for time, I stay in the neighborhood. If I've got time, I go over to the park. And the dogs love it, as you can imagine.
Well, I'm impressed that you run. I don't run unless there's somebody big and ugly chasing me.
I despise running. You know what? You put me on a basketball court, football court, I could run all day long. But you know why? Because it's short spurts. You know,
Well, and it's a sport. You're preoccupied with it. Like, I hate running, but you give me a basketball, baseball, football, same thing. Soccer, I'll run all day long because I'm preoccupied doing something else.
So you get it. That's what I was
do.
Yep. So you're right. And I could do that all day long. And, you know, my body is built to where it does short spurts very well without going, you know. But you make me run a straight line of a mile and I'll fall over and collapse.
No, people that run, that do the half marathons, the marathons. I even know a guy that does the ultra marathons. I'm like, how do you even train to run 100 miles at a time? To me, that is just pure insanity.
I know it. I mean, to me, they say that's greatness. To me, that's insanity. There's something wrong with them. To want to put yourself through that. I do admire them. Don't get me wrong. I am not knocking. If any of you guys are listening, I am not knocking you, and I'm not backpedaling here. You know, being an athlete myself and active, I understand the commitment, as she just stated, it takes to do that. But to me, that's insanity. I am not. And I don't know if you know this, Miss Marie, there's to tax themselves out even more, they run in the Mojave Desert or some crazy place. It's in a desert, and it goes through the mountains. And the Mojave Desert has mountains too, but it goes through the mountains, which challenges you because you're going up, you know, and the air gets thinner, blah blah blah. Plus, you're running the incline, and then you get down to the desert floor, and you've got the heat. I mean, that's just insanity. I don't know how the human body does it.
I don't either. I've always operated on the theory that once upon a time, somebody told me, you know, your heart has so many beats in it for your lifetime. And exercise, you're just increasing the number of beats in a short period of time. So if you want to live a long life, should you really be exercising? So I'm kind of anti-exercise, if you can't tell.
No, well, I mean, I guess, but that's a great look. I mean, insight, because you're right. Regardless of what we want to say, every person has that last beat. Whether you're in shape or not, you have that last beat. So you're right. If you're racing towards that last beat, if you knew it, if somebody sat you down and said, look, you've got 30 million beats and you're out there working out and you use up 10 million of them in the first 5 years of your adult life, you might be like, oh, crap. I only got 25 million left. I better stop.
Well, to be fair, the argument I get in return is that, well, the heart is a muscle, and the more you work it, the healthier it is. So, you know, I'm not saying my perspective is correct by any means. It's my excuse for not exercising.
Do you know how many athletes die per year in every sport? Young athletes, and they can't hardly find something wrong with them sometimes.
Well, who was the big runner back in the day? Jim Phillips, wasn't it? Didn't he die running from a heart attack?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it happens.
Well, you know, the heart is a muscle. We both know that. But here's the thing. Muscles get stressed out, Marine. Muscles have electrical issues as well. You know, you ever had your muscles in your eye or your arm twitch and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's almost like a heart attack. And I'm not saying put it in the same category. What I'm saying is there's an electrical issue there. And the muscles twitching, not only because of electrical issue, but sometimes electrolytes in that area are not at the proper level. Sometimes it's a normal, quote unquote, human thing. And you know what? The heart goes through those two. We call them murmurs. We call them palpitations and things like that. And they're caused from different reasons. And they, you know, you get the heart jumping around like that, you got problems. And believe me, I've had those issues. About 2 years ago, I didn't do much of anything. That's where I put the weight I have on now, because I was going through some heart issues. And until they could figure out what was going on, I did not put any undue stress. You know, I wanted to work out. I wanted to run, you know, but no, you know, common sense prevailed. Thank God. I did not put any undue stress on my heart, even though it was a muscle, because it was doing all this crazy stuff. The timing was off and the palpitations, and you get lightheaded. You don't know where you are. I mean, it's scary, you know, and you're like, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was going to fall. I was afraid to go out in public. I was afraid to drive. Those are scary moments, So thank God we got it all figured out and got it under control, and I'm back to normal, I guess.
So the moral of the story is don't take your good health for granted.
Yeah. And don't work out.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this health segment of the MLM Solution once again. We've done this a couple times now, Rob. We've gotten off on the health tangent. That's pretty funny.
I know. But you know what? People learn from it. They listen to us and say, oh my gosh, I go through the same thing. You know what? It helps them bond with us, and that's cool. We're more than just business here. We're humans. And we like talking and visiting before we get started, because then we fill up the rest of the show with great information, which today, Miss Marie, is something that many, once again, people are not aware of. Growing business versus a stable business. Which one is going to make you the most money? Which one is going to offer you the lifestyle you want, et cetera, et cetera? And you say, well, Rob, wouldn't both of them offer? Well, guess what? Yes, it could. But at the same time, there are issues that you need to know about that will separate the two and maybe help you pick one over the other. So we're going to address those things right now. But first, yesterday we missed our famous gong, but we're not today. There we go. Now we got it off on the right step. We had a good episode today. Yes, despite the lack of a gong. That just shows what kind of professionals we are. We got refocused and off we went.
Well, I think the gong's kind of for fun. I don't know that it really contributes to the quality of the content that we're providing.
Oh, you don't think so? Oh my gosh. Well, maybe we shouldn't use it anymore. So anyway, today is an important subject matter, like all the things we talk about, things that you want to make sure that you're aware of, because as you're growing your business, you have, we talked yesterday a lot, Miss Marie, about, people, you got to be able to use the music to the ears message to paint a visual picture in someone's head. Okay. And the keywords will help do that. Also, the keywords is what has people sitting on the edge of their seat wanting to learn more about what you're discussing. Because as we stated, everybody wants one of three things: the lifestyle, the money, and more personal time freedom, regardless of the business they choose. Okay. Believe me, most people don't get a franchise because they want to work 20 hours out of the day. What they do is they see the ability, they're willing to put in those 20 hours per day in the beginning so that they can eventually walk away and develop a money machine that will pump out the money that they want to use to make their lives better. In other words, increase their lifestyle. Okay. And especially if they buy another franchise, buy one McDonald's, two McDonald's, three McDonald's, four, you know what I'm saying? And that's where the residual income starts to come in on the franchise side, and also where the lifestyle starts to get better. Okay. But there's a price to pay. They have to go to Hamburger University. Everybody's aware of that. And McDonald's, I don't know. I heard that was a year long. I find that hard to believe. I would venture to say is more like a month to 3 months long. They take it very serious. They will pull your franchise if you do not follow. That's why the steps. That's why you can go to Japan and get McDonald's fries that taste the same as in Utah. Okay. They want the customer to salivate over their fries, which most people do, rightfully so. They're really good. But the point is, Miss Marie can go to Japan, and if she doesn't find anything appetizing, she says, oh my gosh, there's a McDonald's. Okay. And she basically knows what she's going to get. Well, that's because of the franchising model, the duplication process. And that's what we promote in everything we do. But yesterday we talked about how you use the music to the ears message to paint a picture where they can also use this business model to increase their lifestyle. Okay. And that's awesome. And you say, Rob, well, that's growing your business. And yes, we're talking about you pursuing the lifestyle you want. But what happens is when you get to that lifestyle, how do you maintain what you have? Okay. And maintaining what you've built, because the building process is totally different than maintaining it. And maintaining it is, and stabilizing your business is another word for maintaining it. Okay, now there's two different ways that you can make your business stable. Okay, and we're going to talk about that. Now, if you're going to ask yourself where you're going to make the most money, Miss Marie, I'm sure most people would get this wrong, but to me, it's obvious where you make your most money. And I'm sure you know as well, it's in the stable phase of your business. And you say, how can that be? If you're riding an exponentially growing company, well, that's a really good point. And in certain cases, maybe it will end up being where you made the most money based on what the company does. Okay. But we have to use some kind of theoretical model here. And the one we use is one that over the years, 60 plus years of network marketing, where more times than not, companies that do go through that exponential growth are going to be around 3 to 5 years. It's going to take you basically 1 or 2 years to build the income and lifestyle that you may want if you're going after the big business, which we encourage all the time. Now, I'm being a little bit long-winded, but I'm setting up the stage for the further discussion here. So what it is that you have the ability to ride a new company, exponential growth. And if it sticks around 3 to 5 years, your business, not the company, it will too in its own way. And yours is kind of going to mirror it a little bit, but you're there more for the short term than the long term. And because you're riding the growth of this company to create the wealth that can change your life forever. And if you're going to do that, that's going to happen in 1 to 3 years. Well, let's say the company is around for 5, 7, 8 years. What'll happen is that your business will hit its peak, let's say in a year, your first year with the company, maybe 14 months, 16 months, and it'll start leveling off. Now, I'm not saying the leveling off is a bad thing, because if you're going to build a big business, you might get to the point where you're going to maximize the comp plan. And if you do that, if you become a number 1 or number 2 earner in that company, most of those guys are maximizing the comp plan, meaning that they can't sponsor any more people. They can, but it's not going to do them any good. They're not going to make any more money. The comp plan is only going to pay out so much, okay? Comp plan cannot pay to infinity. Get that out of your head. The company will go out of business. It can't do that. But here's the thing. They're going to say, the comp plans say if you're at the top level and you have X amount of leaders, and then you're only going to get, you're going to be capped off. But it's going to be a really nice cap, okay? But the point is that your business, you're going to make more money when it stabilizes. If you're with that company for another 2 years, you're going to make a ton of money because you've maxed out the comp plan and you're making money hand over fist. How can I give you an example of that? I'll give you 2 examples, and then I'm going to shut up and let Marie, because she's chomping at the bit. She's knocking on the window. All right. And so the point is that one example we talk about all the time, Richard Call. Okay. I mean, number 1 distributor at New Skin, blah, blah, blah. He put together in 3 or 6 months. That's debatable which time frame that is. But the point is, still the largest organization in New Skin to this day, makes millions a year. Okay. Did he make more money in that 3 to 6 month period than he has in his stable business? No. Okay. He's made far more money in his stable business than he did in the exponential growth. We focus on the exponential growth part to create your wealth and to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because there's very few new skins around anymore, guys. Okay. So we can't preach that model because it's not realistic. We hope that you find another new skin someday where you could have a Richard Call type life, but we know that that's really going to be rare. So we can't promote that business model. It's the reason why we teach you 1 foot in, 1 foot out in a 3 to 5 year period with a company. Okay. The thing is that you are in a different boat where you may make as much, maybe a little more in your stable business versus the exponential growth part of your business. But if you put it together right, if you follow what we teach you, you should be able to maximize, and I mean, do your 90-day mini blast, maybe do a second one. In your first year to 14, 16 months of business building activity, you should reach a point in that company's comp plan where you can hit cruise control and you become a figurehead. That's part of the stability. And the other part of stability, which we'll talk about in another episode, is developing at least 3 leaders in each one of your most productive legs. Now, you want to do that in every leg, but we'll get into that another day. We don't want to talk about it now. But those are 2 ways, and there's a kind of a Richard Call way of putting together stability. The reason he still gets checks, if he's even still with us, I'm sure Laura's getting it because you can pass it on. But the point is, guys, is that that's a totally different type of stability, one we really don't want to focus on today because, once again, you really don't have a chance to do a new skin. Okay? So the stability here is a little bit different. And you go into a figurehead type, legendary type status where you're doing events, Miss Marie, whether they're live events on YouTube, which you can do, and you can have your downline get on there and they can pay $99 just like going to an event. If hotels say, no, we're not doing events, guess what? If you have enough people sign up on your YouTube channel, Miss Marie and I can say, okay, everybody, our whole downline, let's say we have 5,000 people, everybody go and follow us on YouTube. And they do. And then we reach the threshold that YouTube says, okay, now you can have a membership. Okay, now you can go live. And what you do is you say, okay, everybody, instead of getting together in person, we're going to have a live event. And Miss Marie and I may be on a stage. You know, we could be somewhere, but we would pay a company, media company, to come and produce that, and it would go live. And the only way you could watch it, and we would do our training on whiteboards right there, just like you were there. And you would pay $99 to get access to that live event that we would stream. Okay. Now, you can do that as a figurehead, as a legendary figure. Hey, I'm going to teach everybody how I built the business and blah, blah, blah. And I just gave you the example. That's one way you can stabilize your business. Okay. The other way is the 3 leaders in a leg. But if you're only going to be with a company 3 to 5 years, okay, this new company, because typically companies go out of business. We told you within 90% of the businesses go out, regardless of what industry they're in, within the 3 to 7 year time period. That's the reason why we teach you to keep one leg in and one leg out and keeping your ears open. Okay. So I'm coming to a close here, Miss Marie. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize. Bring it.
She's got her pillow out, guys, and she's got her eyes closed, laying on her pillow. She may start snoring here in a little bit. I'm kidding. Anyway, the point is that that is the only ways that you're going to be able to stabilize your business in this type of environment that we teach. I wish we could teach the new skin model, but unfortunately at this time we can't, okay? Because there's not a company out there that's doing that type of activity and experiencing that type of growth. So, Miss Marie, I set up the stage where we could go deeper in conversation about the stabilization, making more money in the stabilization period versus the business building period. And it's really kind of hard in today's networking environment to pick one over the other. But you've got to have the mindset that your stabilization period is going to produce more money. And here's why. Because you got to mentally prepare yourself to be that figurehead. Because if you don't, you're going to jeopardize everything you put together. So I'm done.
No, you don't get off easily. Well, Rob, this is a really interesting topic to me because the majority of our audience, I believe, is either looking at the network marketing industry, new to it, or coming back into it after stepping away for a while for whatever reason. So when I think about this topic, especially when we kind of pick the title, a growing business versus a stable business, and with most of the podcast episodes that we do, we're very much focusing on growing your business, right? Because that's where the majority of our people are.
Yes.
Very, very few are at the point or even getting close to the point where they're ready to have that stability, or they're even close to potentially maxing out the compensation plan that they're participating in.
That's right.
And it's interesting to think about, because I've heard it said a couple different times in different business contexts that if you're not growing, you're dying,
Yes,
right? So
right.
the idea of stability, you have to be a little bit cautious. And in the context of our audience, what I see oftentimes is people get started, they get off to a great start, they see some growth, they see success, they get, you know, a handful, dozen people in their business that are actually working it. They think they have a couple of leaders, and they start kind of going into that managing mode, thinking they have a stable business prematurely.
Yes.
I think that's that's a struggle. So I think, you know, rather than pursuing more of, you know, what it looks like to have that stable business where you're at the top of the organization, you're like one of the top earners, you've maxed out the compensation plan. I think for me, we need to have it be a little bit more of a cautionary tale with our audience about, don't think you're stable too soon.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point too. And I really understand what you're saying in regards to going into the management mode, because, and that's the thing about when you're teaching this business model and you're teaching it how to put it together correctly, it's a bit by bit piece. In other words, developing the 3 leaders in each leg is a process that comes along as you're building it, and depth. And there's a thing called width is wealth, depth is security. Okay. And that's a process that takes place like in mid-range. You know, we teach 90 days. Look for your leaders, work with the leaders. And when you work with your leaders, you're automatically building depth. Okay. But true leaders haven't come out of that yet, because people don't come in and say, well, I want to be a leader. People come in and say, oh, I want this income. And they become a leader because other people come to them. For instance, I sponsor Marie. Marie sponsors Sally. Sally sponsors Tom. And Tom sponsors Andy. Well, Andy ends up being a really big-time business builder. People flock to Andy because what he's putting together. How are you doing this? Man, you're awesome. Will you teach me? Things like that. And he's got a growing business. Well, he's a leader. He may not have started out wanting to be a leader, but because people are flocking to him because of the things he's doing and accomplishing, his reputation's growing. He's becoming a brand, and people want to flock around people like that. So Andy ends up being one of the leaders. When Marie looks down her leg, when I look down my leg and I say, well, how stable is that leg? I don't look at it in my first 90 days, because even if Andy is identified in those first 90 days, he's just one leader. Marie hasn't stepped up yet. Tom hasn't stepped up yet. Sally hasn't stepped up. That doesn't mean they won't. It means that when I look at that leg, is that leg stable? And I may be making a lot of money off of that leg in my 90-day mini blast, but that doesn't mean that's going to continue. Okay, Tom could burn out. I mean, Andy could burn out and be gone. Okay, it's as things unfold, as you go from that 90-day mini blast and you start hitting the mid-range area of your business, and that's when it's really going to test your fortitude. Do I have the fortitude to stick with this business? Am I going to continue doing this? Or have I already reached the lifestyle I want, the money level I want? Miss Maria, it's like anything else. It's a filtering out process. And you're right. People will go into a management mode because, unfortunately, what ends up happening, and all of this is tied together, but what ends up happening is that we have a situation where you have people who really are not entrepreneurs. They do a 90-day mini blast. It kind of blows them away with the success. They have to learn time management. They have to learn working with people in a responsible way. All of this is crammed into that short 90-day window. And then we teach identify and work with your leaders. Because as you know, Miss Marie, once you do your 90-day mini blast and your leaders start coming up like this Andy, then guess what? If Marie and Tom and Sally are not working with Andy, then Rob has the ethical right to bypass Marie, Tom, and Sally to get to Andy and say, Andy, are you doing okay? This is Rob. I'm Marie's sponsor, and then you and Sally, and then Marie sponsors Sally, and Sally sponsors Tom, and Tom is your sponsor, correct? Yes, Rob, that's correct. Are you getting the help? No, I'm really not. I'm just doing the best I can. I'll work with you. No one else is working with you, right? No. And then what I'll do is I'll contact Tom and Sally and Marie and say, hey, I contacted Andy. He said nobody's offering any help. Is anybody going to step up? If no one answers, no one doesn't, then guess what? I work directly with Andy, and he becomes a leader in that leg. And then I can drive down and help Andy find leaders in that leg, stabilizing that environment. But that happens after the first initial 90-day mini blast. Okay? Because what did we do there? We're always preaching, identify and work with your leaders. I just gave you a scenario in depth where I found a leader in Andy. I bypassed all the other people to talk to Andy in an ethical way. Okay? And I recontacted them to clarify the environment. No one is working with Andy, so I do it. The point is I identified him as a leader. Now I'm working with him, and I can work Andy, helping him stabilize his business, and at the same time, it's stabilizing my business. Okay, now, Miss Marie, the reason I bring that up is because you shouldn't be in a management mode after your initial 90-day mini blast. You should still be in a business building mode, and I just gave an example of where you identify and work with your leaders. And that's going to take another 3 to 4 months. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's where I'm coming in saying, people get through their 90-day mini blast, for instance, and they'll see some success. They'll see people in their downline working. And oftentimes, because of the way we're brought into the business, it looks like a simple duplication, right? You'll see it drawn out on the whiteboard. If you bring in 3 people and they bring in 3 people, then you have, this huge organization in a short amount of time. And yes, ideally, if those numbers work and actually play out, that's the way it does. But we know theory and reality are different, right? So the problem is that 90 days can be such a short period of time too, that people who are new to this industry may not realize that, yes, you're bringing people in. Yes, they look like they're working, but that doesn't mean you can stop and just focus on developing those leaders, right? Because like you said, they could burn out, they could get tired of it, they may fall off, they may not duplicate correctly. I mean, there's all sorts of issues that can happen. So we have to be very cognizant in our businesses, especially early on, of the fact that the success may not continue long term. You have to have that happening through several, in my opinion, 90-day cycles to really see that stability start to come into play. Like I think people get over eager for the system to work the way it's supposed to and think they're going to be able to have that lifestyle and maintain that income for a long period of time, or they'll plateau at, say, $5,000 a month, which may have been an initial goal for them. Mm-hmm. And they think their next goals can be reached by managing and helping the people under them rather than continuing to recruit, doing another 90-day mini blast, kind of being in that mindset of growing and building for a sustained amount of time.
Right. And here's, absolutely, she brings up great points and clarifying points, and that's what we want to do. And this can get to be a very deep subject. And once again, it's a prime example of why you want to be in the members area, because we have training materials that go deeper into this. And this is very important, almost critically important business building information. And we're kind of struggling here because we don't want to go too deep. That's not the purpose of these broadcasts here. What we do is make you aware of things, and we don't send you. We're not promoting at this time those, go buy this, go buy that at this time. We've given you free information so that you are aware of the complexities of building a business and stabilizing it. And I don't want to scare you with the word complexities, because it's not. It comes natural. As you're doing the business building process and you focus on the simple steps, we'll help you through these things that we're talking about here, and they'll come naturally. Okay. That's not the problem. You just got to be willing to do the work. You just got to be willing to say, hey, what do I do here? This is what's going on. I got Andy down there. And of course, we gave an example how to work with Andy in 2 different ways. But the point is, we provide that type of leadership, that type of knowledge, that type of training materials in the members area, because we want you to have access to this. And that's the power of having that information at your fingertips. Go into that members area. Guess what? Quickly identify what you're having challenges with. Click on that video, get that document, review that video. Most of our videos are only an hour long, if that, okay? Because we try to be as short and concise as we can, but we still, our number one goal is to make sure that we get you the correct information. If that's 35 minutes, great. If that's 45 minutes, so be it. But the point is that we try to make it as quick as and efficient as possible for you to get that correct information so that you know what to do without us being available. It's 24/7. So that's the power of that members area, that's part of that knowledge. But to stick with the points that we're talking about here, guys, you got to realize that in order for you to stabilize your business, even at $5,000 a month, look, it's going to take some maintenance. It's not like you're going to be able to just go out on the beach for the rest of your life, because $5,000 is not enough. That is not drink out of the coconut on the beach type money, okay? And you say, well, I've never made that kind of money before. Well, okay, so what? That's neither here nor there, but guess what? Your business is not stable enough, and this is the power of having somebody like Maria or myself evaluate businesses and saying, no, you can't. You know, if you think you've arrived at $5,000 a month, you're kidding yourself, because, guys, it's going to erode away. There's not enough stability, okay? And there's really no point. I mean, there's no way I could sit here and say, well, go to $10,000 a month and you're okay. No, that's not how it's not a monetary value that says, yeah, now you can go sit on the beach. Now, I mean, if you're making $1 million a month, you have arrived, and maybe even $500,000. Okay. You've arrived at that drink out of the coconut type. But to be honest with you, Miss Marie, that is even suspect according to what company you're with, which we're not going to get into. But don't think that $5,000 a month is your ceiling if you're wanting that really great lifestyle. It's a totally different animal. And it's all about looking at your back office and looking at certain numbers and looking at the layout of your business. And it usually, Miss Marie, will take me about a day to go through the numbers and to look at the legs based on the comp plan they're using, asking some questions where I understand, and then look at the stability and see if it's there before I could ever endorse somebody just saying, okay, I'm in cruise mode, I'm done. You know, I don't ever have to work again. Well, I don't think so. And as you can tell, this could be a deep subject, and I'm trying not to go too far. It's right there at the edge. And I hope I'm not jumbling things up. If I am, please step in and clarify.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're jumbling things up. And yes, this is touching on a subject that's a little deeper than what we typically do. But I think it's one of those things that it's important that we touch on.
Yeah.
Because people may make a mistake early on thinking they're able to do something in terms of having a stable business that they're not. And I think that's really what we're trying to get across to people.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah. And let me just get right to the chase here to make this very clear. All of you know that we teach 90-day mini blast. So just imagine yourself, you're doing your first initial mini blast with a new company, okay? That's phase one, if you want to use that term. Phase two is during phase one, you've identified your leaders because of what you saw in your back office, the volume they're creating, the pin rank advancement that's going on. And you say, okay, I've sponsored 60 people during my 90-day mini blast. Out of those 60 people, I have 18 that are doing things at different levels. And out of the 18 people, guess what? I have probably 7 or 8 that are advancing in pin rank and have consistent growth. Okay. So phase one is your 90-day mini blast where you identify your leaders. Phase two is where you start working with those 7 or 8 leaders. You have 18 leaders altogether out of the 60 you sponsored in your 90-day mini blast. But in phase 2, if you want to use that term so that you can physically put in your mind or visualize in your mind, phase 1, then phase 2 follows phase 1, of course. And that's where you're going to identify and work with your leaders based on the numbers you see in your back office and what's going on. You have 18 leaders, 7 or 8 of which are really moving forward. Okay. You're going to try and work with all 18 leaders. That's going to take a lot of time. Phase 2 could last 3, 4, 5 months. Why do you say that, Rob? Because you want to stabilize those legs, guys. This is your future. You're laying the foundation. Remember, we talked about the 4 critical mistakes you make that'll eat away at the foundation. We talk about how the foundation sets up your business so your business will catapult into exponential growth like the company. That's what you're doing in phase 2. You were putting down that foundation. How are you doing that foundation? By identifying and working with those leaders. Now you have 18 of them, okay? 7 or 8 which are doing something aggressively. The others are not, but they are doing things. They're slower. Okay, always remember, a third will do it now, which is your 7 or 8. A third will do it later, which is the remaining people, which is going to be 10 or 11, okay, of those 18. You don't horsewhip those 10 or 11, but you do contact them and say, hey, do you need any help? Are you struggling? Do you need, and a lot of them say, no, it's just a time. I'm busy with the kids and I'm getting this in. I'm doing 2-3 hours a night. Okay, I'm here for you. You're doing great. And I'm very proud of you. You're doing awesome. Okay. That's what you do with the other 10 or 11. Okay. Once you do that and you work with the 7 or 8 that are aggressive, you do not ignore them. Okay. You get with the 7 or 8 that are really aggressive and they say, no, Rob, leave me alone. I'm fine. Okay. I know what I'm doing. If I have any questions, I'll get with you. If those 7 and 8 say that, guess what? Rob becomes kind of a figurehead and a leader of those 7 or 8, okay? And Rob is there for those 10 or 11. They're kind of doing a little bit here and there, but they are making slow progress. Now is a time where Miss Marie, where I say, do I want to do another mini blast? Because the 10 or 11 has made it clear that time management is an issue with them because they're busy. But they're doing things. Don't mess with that. Okay. Remember, a third will do it later. Okay. That is your later people. You don't horsewhip your later people. You'll push them away. You'll make them want to quit. Leave them alone. Your job at that point is just to say, I'm here for you if you need anything. Then I say, okay, do I go to phase 3, which is another 90-day mini blast? That answer comes from the money and the lifestyle you want, okay? You cannot wait for those 10 or 11 people to come around. If you want to maximize what this company's going through, if you want once-in-a-lifetime type money and you want a long-term lifestyle, then you better seriously consider a second 90-day mini blast because the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is going to start all over again, okay? The 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 on your first mini blast is going to continue to work on those 18 leaders. Okay. That's never going to change. And you're never going to forget about them. If they contact you, you're going to go back to those people in phase 2 and work with them and be there for them and help them to grow. Okay. So you can see, Miss Marie, you did your 90-day mini blast. That's 3 months. You're doing the follow-up phase 2, which could be another 3 to 4 months. Okay, you're already at 7 or 8 months. Your first year is almost gone, guys. You see how fast that went? And if you do another 90-day mini blast, which could be phase 3, that's at least another 3 months. Okay, now you're up to 11 or 12 months. Plus, you're going to have to do a phase 4, which is what? The exact same thing you did in phase 2, which is what? Identify and work with your leaders from your phase 3 90-day mini blast. So now you've got a full schedule. You're now talking almost 2 years. And when we talk about 1 or 2 years, Miss Marie, I can see where people are cringing. Oh my gosh, that's such a long time down the road. Miss Marie, you just saw where this scenario, you do a 90-day mini blast, guys, you are going to be busy. 2 years is going to fly by. And the reason I relay that out for you is because if you don't jump on a new company right away and work your tail end off, you are going to miss the boat. Okay. So Miss Marie, I hope that clarified, doing it in phases so that people can see there's no management in there. It's all work.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely perfect. And I'll be honest with you, Rob. I know we're not even close to being on the air for an hour here yet, but I think we've covered this really well for the amount of depth we want to get into here.
Yeah.
We don't want to go too advanced because then we'll be on here for another 2 hours, and nobody wants that, I don't think.
No. That's why we're working really hard to stay under an hour.
Exactly. But here's the other thing I want to mention is I want to encourage people. You know, we've actually packed a lot of information into this episode, and if you need to, go back and listen to it again. Yes. That would be my first recommendation. And then the other thing you're going to want to do is be sure you join us tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time, because we are going to be talking about evaluating your business, which is key in figuring out where you are. Is it growing? Are you ready to become stable? There's going to be a whole lot of essential information that really ties into what we've talked about here today.
Yes, absolutely. And you did a great job laying out this week's topics, and kudos to you. You really did. And then when I saw this one, I knew this was going to be a toughie. But it needs to be addressed, you know, because most of the subjects that we've talked about have been pretty simple and straightforward to you and I. You know, maybe other people it may not seem that way, but for you and I, definitely has been a pretty even and a great thing to do as far as simplicity on the shows. Now, when I saw this one, I said, oh boy, we're going to be in for a ride on this one, because I really didn't know how to tiptoe on that fine line of too much information and given just enough. But just to summarize, and we're going to get off here, there's only two ways in the scenario that we're talking about to stabilize your business. Build it to the level you want, okay, and become the figurehead, okay? And then the only other way is to have 3 leaders and a leg. I want you to know, as we close this episode, which we're going to do now, which is awesome, is that those are the 2 things you need to be focused on in this scenario. Because as I said before, the new skin scenario that we talk about and use as an example a lot is not applicable in this situation. Okay, so the only 2 ways to stabilize your business is to build it to the level you want and become the figurehead, the legendary figure, where people want to join your business, even if you're not recruiting them, or you work really hard to develop as many legs as possible with 3 leaders in each one, Miss Marie, so that if others go to another company, they pass away, they decide they're not want to work in the business anymore, your business is stable enough to produce even, you know, the income that you want. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing I want to point out too here before we close is that you mentioned that this was a little bit tougher subject, and it was like, yeah, you look at that title on the schedule as we laid it out and it's a little bit crunchy, but that is our commitment to you as our audience. We want to bring the value and the information that you're not going to find anywhere else. And we're not going to tiptoe around some of these topics that are a little bit tougher, are, you know, a little bit cheat to be talking about, because it's important. We want you to be clear on how to succeed in this business. And we're doing everything we can to help you and your team do that. So as always, we ask that you like, comment, share this with network marketers around the globe. Find us on our various social media platforms by using hashtag TheMLMSolution. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, register for notifications there as well. Click on that bell. That'll let you know when we're live. You can join us live, or at least let you know there's some new material there available for you. As I always say, be sure to be sharing this with your downline. Duplication is key to this business. We're providing you with valuable information. Make sure you're sending that on out to your team, sharing with other network marketers so they can take advantage of it as well.
Yeah.
And then be sure to visit our website, TheMLMSolution.net. Tremendous amount of material there for you, more value. I know a lot of you listening on the podcast, you like to catch things by hearing it because you're auditory. Some people prefer to read things, and that's where the website really comes in handy, as well as a lot of the video links as well. Then you get the combination. You get to see and hear at the same time. So.
Yeah. Yep, there you go.
Be sure to check out the website. Rob's been working hard on that. Tons of information there for you. TheMLMSolution.net.
And
sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
I thought you were done. There's a little bit of delay. That's the reason why you'll hear us talk over each other a little bit. Because when we're talking, Marie's waiting until I stop and vice versa. And so we get that little talking over each other. Just to let you know, I had someone contact me last night about the survey.
Awesome.
They the point is that they listened to our podcast and evidently did not, because it's some of the podcasts we just talk about surveying, we don't give the address. So I wanted to bring that up on the screen because they got with me last night and said, hey, and I was like, oh, I am so sorry, because we don't do it every episode. And they listened, obviously, to one of them that didn't. So there you go.
There you go. Yes. So if you would like to contact us, we do have a feedback form available on our website. You can find that at TheMLMSolution.net/survey. Very simple form, 2 minutes or less, won't take very much of your time, could provide you with tremendous value in terms of give us some feedback about what's working well for you, and ask us any questions. Let us know if there are topics that you'd like to hear more about. We're always open to that, and we are here to serve and help you become successful.
That's right. There you go. Man, what better way to end it than that, right? Well, it was a great episode. Thank you so much, Miss Marie, as always, for your input. And we welcome everyone tomorrow to our show and on Freelance Friday. So we want you to promote what we're bringing each and every day, 11 a.m., if you will, with our fellow network marketers across the world. We appreciate it in advance. And thank you guys for all of the comments and all of the likes and everything. You guys are doing awesome. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m.
Thank you for listening to the MLM Solution Podcast. For more info, visit our website, TheMLMSolution.net. Please follow us on the following platforms: Facebook, YouTube, etc. And share this podcast with our fellow network marketers around the world by hitting the share button on our various platforms.